Hello everyone, welcome to a very exciting update for Raising the Bar Redux. Today's the day we officially unveil the next big step for RTBR, an expansion of the universe we've been building to cover new perspectives on this strange and frightening world. This is a great time for the team, not only due to our recently revealed involvement with Half-Life 2 RTX, but also because we can finally reveal something we've been working on for a while. But working we have been, not only on these side stories, but on the main project and mod, which remains our ultimate priority. Without further ado, let's dive into Division 3 and beyond.
Antlions will form a core part of the enemy repertoire in Division 3, and as with the Hunter, we've decided to leverage the episodic enemy types instead of expending resources trying to mimic them. The Worker then gives the Antlions some much-needed ranged capability, with two unique skins. One themed after a sort of termite color scheme will only be seen on the surface or very close to the surface. The other, more recognizable bioluminescent variant will be seen deep in the hives.
Continuing with our gradual remodeling of many common world props, this kilowatt meter was lovingly researched and recreated by myself. Electrical boxes are the bread and butter for adding detail to grungy and industrial environments. So these will get ample use and, throughout existing levels, uplift the existing art paths.
The depot was an analog for Nova Prospect, if not an outright replacement, and with that in mind we decided to inject some extra personality into the soldiers in this part of the wasteland. These skins, also by Andy, are inspired by another cut color scheme and feature interpretations of other cut insignia as well. With these coming out very nicely, we might pursue alternative skins for other divisions of the Combine throughout the rest of RTBR.
Norma Bieni is a new art passer on the team, whose past experiences involve inspired Source Engine remakes of locals from Disco Elysium. We decided to assign him straight onto Wasteland maps, given his interest and is already doing a great job to some of the opening sections of Depotyard, a map which features both inside and outside environments, as well as an immense storage area yet to be revealed.
Depot 01 continues to come along well, with Suxar plugging away relentlessly to get one of the oldest depot maps in the lineup up to scratch. Featuring the return of Alex and as an ally alongside the player this time, it's a solid chance to do some awesome mixing of old human and new Combine architecture.
This remake of another venerable power box prop was done by Sir Mars and means we've almost round out the full set. Little remakes like this might seem small in isolation, but when taken as a whole, levels will generally feel just that little bit more unique and polished, and future levels will benefit, with minimal work having to be undertaken by the mapper to do so.
The depot, serving a similar narrative role to Nova Prospect, is nonetheless also trying to serve a different architectural goal. As an abandoned human naval base now overrun by the Combine, it won't be purely prison-focused. Nonetheless, any substantial offshore base will need somewhere to keep prisoners, and the Combine have repurposed this as a VIP holding facility. That same facility will be up to Alex and the player to break Eli Maxwell out of.
The last of the mainline depot maps is a mad dash to cause as much mayhem as possible to open up an escape route for Eli and Alex. But you've an advantage, a pteropod that will mean the Antlions, once your foes throughout the chapter, will even the odds. We've designed this map to take advantage of Antlion Workers as part of your squad of fleshy allies, and also leverage them for solving progression problems in interesting ways. This is the most Combine-dominated portion of the entire facility, and the architecture will reflect that appropriately.
And now for a fun one. The Chumtoad is a fan-favourite critter cut from Half-Life, but reborn in the expansions, and now in RTBR, by Andy. We already have an Easter egg where you can find this critter, but we plan to slip him in elsewhere, and his bouncy idle animation created by myself means he's just too cute to pick up and throw.
So, you've heard from the team how Division 3 is going, and it remains our priority. But now it's time to shed a light on some secret projects we've been working on. Salvation and Triumph.
Raising the Bar Salvation is aiming to be a chilling, challenging mod with the terrifying atmosphere of Ravenholm turned up to 11. Step into the shoes of Father Grigori, Archangel of Ravenholm, after having delivered Gordon Freeman through the hellish town. Your goal is to bury the town you once called home beneath ash and fire. Resource management will be key, and playing as the Mad Priest, you can't always trust what you see.
Salvation is an experience inspired by the Doctor mode from Cry of Fear, and as such you'll be fighting your way backwards through difficult odds in familiar yet changed environments. Salvation 01 is the introduction to the mod, the aftermath of the climactic battle at the quarry. Bodies litter the ground whilst every zombie within a half-mile radius was itching and clawing to get in on the action. You'll find previously blocked pathways have been smashed open by desperate denizens, whilst the churchyard has been consumed by out-of-control fire. Enjoy the relative calm whilst it lasts. From here, it only gets tougher.
Whilst Salvation 01's relatively calm introduction meant we could already pursue art passing, future maps in the mod will receive much more prominent changes to gameplay and thus are being blocked out first to solidify new systems. However, the church has been totally remastered by myself, complete with all new lighting, pews, pulpit, balcony, confession booth, and candles graciously provided by Amicus. To prepare for the player's journey ahead, their last chance to take stock before the storm.
For Division 2, we modelled a nail mine inspired by the weapon cut from Arcane's return to Ravenholm. Now, around 2 years after that nail mine was first modelled, we've overhauled it with new materials and details, just in time to be factored in as a view model weapon for Grigori, but not pictured here, as the weapon itself is still being animated.
With little ammo left in the town, the player will have to rely on their aim and careful rationing to dispatch foes. For simpler obstructions such as wooden boards, weak brick walls, and lowly headcrabs, Grigori's iron legs will be his best asset to conserve ammunition.
The soundtrack I am composing for Salvation will differ greatly in many ways from Gordon's journey, incorporating Gregorian chants, choir, church bells, and more traditional instruments paired with more industrial sound. We want Grigori's soundtrack to be a reflection of his religious nature, while keeping with his darker personality.
Salvation is a relatively small experience that we think will reward replay and mastery, as well as helping close the chapter on Grigori's story. Building Ravenholm for Division 2 was a huge undertaking we are still very proud of. In Salvation, it'll be time to tear it all down. In addition, when Salvation releases, any Ravenholm-specific improvements that were made to facilitate the submod will be ported into the main mod for a future release update. That's all we have to say about Salvation for now, so let's dive into the next submod we are announcing.
Raising the Bar Triumph is our vision of Portal, seen through different eyes. Aperture Science has been taken over by Combine forces, who left no stone unturned in the aftermath of the 7-Hour War. Where once a rogue AI ran the facility with impunity, now the Combine have it shackled for their own purposes, to determine the science behind the portal device and replicate it for their own use. A less pristine Aperture awaits, with more prototype technology than anything guiding your hand.
The introductory chambers will bear some similarities to those seen in the original Portal, but with a totally revised art direction, taking inspiration from both old Aperture in Portal 2 and the Nova Prospect era of Portal's development. In a word, grunge can be used to describe a direction with these chambers, making them seem repurposed for dark, sinister means. Note that in the long term we plan to have our own interpretations of many core Portal test components, like buttons, cubes, and doors. Old Aperture props are only being used as a fitting placeholder for the time being. As the player gains their first general command over portals, the chamber will widen out, and more artistic elements will be introduced. We are currently utilizing an older era of the portal design, and have chosen the light teal blue and royal purple colorations to define the mod. Chamber 2 is also the last chamber to follow the original Portal very closely. Future chambers begin to change up the formula. Still, we intend for Triumph to be accessible, not only to Portal fanatics, but also people who may be less practiced with the games. and we will be keeping a similar difficulty level to Portal throughout.
Of course, the highlight of Triumph and perhaps this announcement update is our design for the portal gun. Inspired by a mix between RTBR's unique art style and also an original much less pristine looking take on the device, many details are up for show, like a monitoring device mounted by the Combine to keep track of the tests, or an older rendition of the Aperture Science logo from Portal pre-release content, marking the portal gun itself as belonging to another era.
My goal for the soundtrack of Triumph is to not only replicate the isolating feeling of Portal, but infuse it with a darker, more sinister tone. With Aperture in the hands of the Combine, we will not only feel isolated, but we will feel the constant stare of a darker set of eyes. Ambience will be used heavily throughout the mod, accompanied by many familiar rhythms and tones that we all know and love from the original Portal OST. While the darker embrace of the Combine ensnares Aperture Science, you may also hear slightly lighter tones throughout the soundtrack, symbolizing what was once a series of promising breakthroughs for humanity, to now being but cogs in the Combine machinery.
Triumph will be a fully fledged Portal mod with a substantial set of new chambers and a new story to tell. We're having a lot of fun developing something very different from what we're used to, but it's paying off with the ability to put our own spin on the game and try something brand new. Plus, we now have our own portal gun, and that's almost worth it on its own. And that's all for our announcement of the future of RTBR. We hope you're as excited as we are to explore 2 new perspectives in RTBR's world, and take a look behind the curtain at how Division 3, the mainline journey of Gordon, continues to come along. Before closing up, here's a few more roles we're still on the lookout for, and bear in mind now that recruitment to the team may also mean assisting with these supplementary projects. 1. Competent level designers. We're still open to having additional support in the art pass and blockout departments. In addition, we may have special room for someone with a passion for Portal puzzle design to help guide our efforts in Triumph. 2. 3D modelers. 3D asset work is always important to the mod's execution, so artists with expertise in hard surface and texturing workflows would be much appreciated. And 3. Programmers. With the amount of custom content coming in Division 3 and the spin-offs, additional resources in our programming department would be ideal. If any of these roles look good to you, please add me on Discord with the username Kralik. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for individual devlogs for Redux, Triumph, and Salvation in the future.